So John Sorsby, who I know very well, he's our chief flying instructor at Bristol Aero Club, and he also is the examiner for Bristol Aero Club, and it's his fault that I'm flying, basically, because you foolishly passed me.
You did it all yourself, Andy.
So John, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today.
No, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah, aviation's been your life, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So give us a potted history of how you started in aviation.
Well, I was always destined for it. My father was involved with a company called General Dynamics, who made the F1, any air enthusiast, military enthusiast, will know the F111, the F16, and that. So he was involved with selling of those in Europe. So we lived in the southern London, Belgium, moving around with the job. So I was always involved with people in the aviation industry.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be a fast jet pilot, but I was way too immature at the right, or if you like, the wrong age. So
Yeah.
I went along, did all the tests in advance of the Air Force, thought, yeah, that's great, I'll make it. Then I applied for the sixth form scholarship, didn't get that because I was way too immature. And the Air Force, so I went back to the careers office. I want to join up. What can I do? And they talked about the apprentice scheme, which actually is a absolutely fabulous scheme. Applied for that. The interviews for that were actually worse than the aircrew ones.
Really?
There was loads
And
of
where was this? This is with the RAF?
Yes, this is the RAF.
Oh, okay.
So I joined up end of 81 as an apprentice. Did 3 years training. Pretty much hated the training,
Really?
but then I got posted to 617, the Dambuster Squadron.
How cool is
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Yeah, and they just got the Tornado, so we were doing all the sort of publicity stuff for the Tornado for British Aerospace, and just had a whale of a time. I thought, this is great. I really must apply for pilot again. And I just kept going on, and the pilots on the squadron were saying, "You've got to apply, you've got to apply." Like, yeah, I'll get round to it. Again, showing the immaturity. And that, so I had a couple of flights in the back seat and thought, yeah, this is what I really want to do. I love fixing these and I'm working with them, but I'd love to fly them.
Yeah.
So I went down for selection again, got through, went down to Biggin Hill as it was in those days, and they assessed me as a training risk because of my maths score.
Oh.
And I thought, well, actually, I thought I'd done fairly well, and I was really upset about it all. But when they did the debrief, they said because they weren't short of pilots, that thing, they put a filter on for age, so I became a training risk because I was 27 at that stage.
Right.
So they said, well, why don't you become an engineering officer? I said, well, I'm not interested, to be honest. I want to fly. So they described some of the other roles you could do as low master air electronics operator. And then they said flight engineer. And I thought, well, what's that then? I thought, well, at least that's on the flight deck. You're involved with flying the aeroplane. So I applied for that, got it. The more I went through the training, the more I thought, this is actually a really good job.
Yeah.
Was lucky to get posted direct onto the VC-10 over at Bryce Norton, not far from here.
Fantastic aircraft.
Yeah. So I did 5 years on 10 Squadron, which is basically the RAF's airline. I went all over the world. And then I really wanted to do the air-to-air refuelling, so I volunteered for that. When 10 Squadron started doing that. By that stage, I got a PPL at the flying club at Bryce. So I was doing a little bit of pilot flying as well.
Can I just ask you there, where was 617 Squadron based then?
At Marham, where they're back now in Norfolk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they went up to Lossiemouth with the Tornado.
Yeah.
They were then disbanded for a while, and then they've reformed now at Marham with the F-35.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went over, became a flight engineer instructor, and I was training a guy who'd come from the Hercules, the VC-10. He said, "Oh, I've got a commercial pilot's license. I'm going to leave and get a job with the airlines." I thought, "Can you do that?" I thought I'd be too old. So I knew nothing about civilian flying. So I looked at it, and the flight engineer job is dead now. It was dying in the military world, and it was dying in the civilian world. So I thought, well, I could try and make the move. So I did my licenses, and everything aligned for me. Got a job with Bryman down at Plymouth flying the Dash 8, which was amazing. By this stage I was instructing as well, pilot instructing. Then came up to Bristol on the Embraer 145, and then when BA started recruiting after 9/11, once it all picked up again, applied for BA. Didn't think I'd get in, and gobsmacked myself more than anybody that I got in. Did 5 years on the Airbus as a first officer, 5 on the Jumbo as a first officer.
What was the Jumbo like to fly?
Amazing.
Was it?
It's simple like me.
It's a simple aircraft to fly?
It's a pure aeroplane, yeah. It's lovely, absolutely lovely. Wow. Really rewarding to fly.
Yeah.
And then 2015 I got my command and went back to the Airbus. And that's me, and then the GA stuff that's been going. I because Deb, my partner instructor, that kind of kept me.
Can I just say, sorry,
Yeah,
someone called Deborah Ford has just said good morning from Florida as well.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
there.
I instructed you there, mate.
Well, I think we've got just as good weather here, to be honest.
Yes,
as she
I think
has.
we have, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that kept me in general aviation, and when the previous CFI of the Bristol Aero Club left, I had an examiner rating and everything. I was asked if I'd fill in temporarily, and that was 2013. So 10 years later, I'm still here.
Brilliant.
Filling in.
Fantastic.
So that's kind of me to date, really.
Yeah, no, that's great. And of course, John, he passed me as well. What a madman! He passed me, and we flew in X-ray whiskey. So yeah, that was something I can remember. I was so nervous. I had literally had 2 hours sleep that night, and I think I was getting a bit obsessive, wasn't I? Because I remember you said, "Just fly the aircraft, Andy. Fly the aircraft."
That's the thing. I mean, everybody gets.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Us professional pilots, we go in the simulator every 6 months.
Yeah.
And if you don't, hello Dan, and if you don't get nervous, I would worry if I didn't get nervous, because you think, oh, maybe there's a bit of arrogance creeping in here.
Yeah.
And as an examiner as well, you really, you want the person to pass.
Of course you do. Of
The
course
real
you do.
important thing is you want to set a nice, relaxed atmosphere so they can perform the best.
Definitely.
But you're always going to have little hiccups with nerves, and that we all do.
I
We're all
remember
human.
as well when we were on, because I think I landed on 1-8. It was on 1-8, and I remember you keyed the mic and said, "Can you have word with those the helicopters?" You probably won't remember this. He said they're chucking grass all over the runway. You won't remember that. I
do vaguely, actually.
Yeah.
I do.
So I mean, what's the Airbus to fly like? Because with the stick, as opposed to an aircraft which you obviously fly when you're flying a PA-20 with a yoke. Do you just automatically switch from one to the other, or do you? How does that work?
Pretty much. I mean, the big thing with the Airbus is you don't have to trim it. You point it on a flight path in space, and it pretty much stays on there. So when it's it's a fairly benign day like today, it is pretty easy to manually fly.
Yeah.
When things get complicated is when it gets a bit gusty and blowy. It's a little bit easy to start over controlling.
Is it?
So less is more with it, basically. You've got to let things settle down. But I love the side stick. It's fabulous. It's lovely to fly. I really do like it. I mean, when I went from the Airbus to the Jumbo, all of a sudden you've lost that lovely tray table.
Yeah.
And you've got all this thing in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that. So it's a well-designed aeroplane.
Yeah.
Definitely a well-designed aeroplane.
And does that mean you could, in theory, you'd be able to fly an A400M with differences
Yeah,
training?
they're all the Airbus family are very, very similar. So it's all the same sort of principles. So
Yeah.
it's only a few week short conversion course if you're converting from one type to the other. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Excellent. Oh, that's fantastic. And of course, you teach as well now still, or are you mainly just doing examinations now at the club?
I do. Normally, the time I really sort of keep, because it's always important, I think, as an examiner to
keep your
teach
hands
as
on.
well. Yeah, to keep your hands on, to appreciate what the people are going through and how they get there on the journey. But the main thing I do is I'm also a trustee for Flying Scholarships for disabled people.
Tell us about that.
And so basically, Flying Scholarship Disabled People are a charity that are part of the RAF, a sub-charity, the RAF Charitable Trust, which most people will know as the organisation that run RIAT, the big air show at Fairford.
Yeah.
And basically, every year we select a number of candidates. People apply online. We look for disabled people that maybe need a boost in their life. Maybe maybe they could have had a life-changing incident. They could have been ill all their lives. But
Yeah.
they need something to boost their confidence. And what we do is we use the medium of flight to boost their confidence, show that they can be independent. So they go through this selection process. We're very lucky that we get the use of RAF Cranmore, the Officer and Aircrew Selection Centre there to interview them, do
That's
their
really good,
medicals
isn't
and
it?
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not about pilot aptitude, it's about a need. So the reason we use Cranmore, it's a great place to do, and a lot of the people, even unsuccessful candidates, say that just purely that 3 days of having to go to an RAF base, be a bit independent, that's changed their lives.
Definitely.
And they get together, they don't often. You talk to a lot of disabled people, and they haven't actually chatted with other people.
No.
And so we get them all together, and they swap notes and things like that. It's just a fabulous process.
Definitely.
So they come out of that, they come down to one of 3 or 4 flying schools, of which Bristol Aero Club is one. They're put in a hotel for 3 weeks, normally in a 2 or a 3. And we take them through the Lapple course, basically, as far as we can with their, tailored to their needs and their abilities.
Fantastic.
And that, yeah, it's a great formula.
Just on that point, because you mentioned Lapple, which would be interesting to have a quick chat about that in a sec. So one of the I've just given John his Phobic flyer mug as well.
In the box here.
He's got it in the box. And Hayley asked for one as well.
Oh,
so
okay.
she said, I think I'll go some instruments. So I've sent her one up to...
fantastic.
What's the island?
Orkney.
Oh, yes,
Orkney,
of course.
yeah.
Orkney, yeah.
Lambholm Airfield.
That's
where
right,
she is,
exactly.
Right where she lives, yeah.
Definitely. So I've sent one up there as well. So you mentioned the Lapple. Just explain very briefly then about the difference between the Lapple and the PPL and what the difference is with the rating and what if it's not a rating or...
So it is a bit complicated. So
Okay.
Apologies to any of your viewers who know more than me, because even I get tongue-tied with it. So basically a PPL is what's known as an ICAO, if you like, an internationally recognised licence. The Lapple, it started off as a European thing, but now our one is just a UK licence. But basically what it allows is somebody to fly VFR day or night if they've got a night rating in the UK, and that with an aeroplane up to, I think it's 2 tons, total of 4 people.
Yeah.
You can't use it abroad, so that's the slight drawback with it.
Yeah.
The advantage is it's got much looser medical requirements. So I always say to people, go for the PPL if you can.
Yeah.
But if there's any medical reasons why you can't, the Lapple is maybe more for you. Downsides of that, because when you hear to organisers say, well, you can get a licence for less money. Trouble is, what's the first thing people want to do when they get their licence?
Yeah.
They want to take their partner flying or their kids or that.
Yeah.
With the Lapple, you've got to do another 10 hours flying, which doesn't sound much, but actually it's
okay.
quite a lot
Yeah.
of flying before you can actually take any passengers.
Yeah.
And that. So by the time you've amassed those 10 hours,
Yeah.
and that, you kind of might as well. You're probably going to be in the region of being able to got a PPL anyway. So if you've got the medical requirements, go for the PPL, I say.
Fantastic.
And don't even get me started on the renewing or the revalidation with the Lapple, because it doesn't have a rating in it.
No.
It's a licence and it's on a rolling 24-month recency requirement, where you have to do 12 hours within 2 years, over a 2-year time span.
Is that similar to the PPL?
It is and it isn't. The hours are the same. In the PPL, it's you've got to have done the hours within your last 12 months of validity.
Yeah.
Whereas the Lapple, it's a rolling thing. So every time you fly, you have to look and count back to make sure you've done that amount of flying, and it's so complicated for a simpleton like me.
I was going to say, we use a French tool called Open Flyers, don't we, at the club? That just reminds people to do stuff, doesn't it? Like your medical.
Yeah.
And I got reminded the other day when I tried to book an aircraft. I was going to go flying with Dan, funnily enough, and basically I got told by Open Flyers that I had to do my revalidation thing, which I did, and I did the video as well. And funny enough, Dan, who stood there, we were talking the other day about Kaz's approach and what a good instructor she is.
Yeah.
Because she's brilliant. But
And
thank you.
It's so important that's the most thing. It's not as an instructor. It's not how much you know. It's the tone that you set.
Yes,
and
definitely.
the setting that you give, and you relax that person, and you'll get the best out of them.
And for me, I had a phobia of flying, and that took a lot with you guys. So thank you very much. Did you not know that, Daniel?
YouTube
It's called the Phobic. I can't remember the Phobic something.
The Phobic boater.
That's it, exactly. But no, that's been fantastic. And if you've got any questions, guys, John's not going anywhere for a bit. I'm assuming he's going to hang around for a little bit.
Around,
so there's this person called Deborah Ford again. She keeps cropping up on the channel.
She's asked a question.
She's saying everyone at Gloucester Airport is always so welcoming to the disabled scholars from FSDP. So a special thank you to everyone there, especially air traffic.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, that's a really good point that Deb makes. Actually,
seriously.
We couldn't. I mean, we have. There are. Extra things we have to put in place for flying our disabled scholars, and the airport is so accommodating.
They are.
Guys like Dan who understand what we're trying to achieve and doing is so vital to us. So,
Definitely.
A big thank you, yeah.
Definitely. And I think we did a shout out last week to everybody at the airport, as Deb's saying as well, because it's the operations crew, the fire crew, briefing, everybody, and there's people in the tower. They can be a bit miserable sometimes, but we just deal with that as pilots, don't we?
No more direct drones for you then, Clarkey.
Sorry, well, I don't mean you though. I mean the other controllers.
They're all lovely.
Yes, they are.
All lovely.
But absolutely brilliant, John. Is there anything else you want to tell us at all? Do you think?
Oh, not at all. No, just thank you for doing this, Andy, because it's so. As you know, if I'm down route and I'm not working and in a hotel, I
Yeah.
switch on and watch it. And it's so addictive. And
It
I'd
is.
say to people, yeah, come and watch it. It's good. You never know what's going to happen, what's
No.
going to turn up.
Exactly,
So,
and
yeah.
today we've had a hurricane and a Spitfire
And a caterpillar. by
and a
the looks of
caterpillar
it,
by
yeah.
the look of it. Yeah.
Vampires have been pulled out.
And the vampire's been pulled out, so I'm sure Ollie's going to get on that camera shortly to look at the vampire.
Three's on it already.
Say again, sorry.
3 is on it.
3 is on it. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, John.
No, thank you, Andy.
No, I really
thank you.
appreciate it,
enjoyed
mate. Thank you. Nice one.
Cheers. Again, any questions, guys?
Yeah,
Just
fire them over
away.
on the chat and we'll get them over to John and get back to you. Thank you.